Perfect, thank you very much for joining me. Yes, my name is Sean and you are watching MLS Ireland does predictions for week 8. We got a good week this week, so stay tuned. Perfect, thank you very much for joining me. Yes, my name is Sean and you are watching MLS Ireland, and if you're new to this, hit that subscribe button. I wouldn't mind getting to at least 500 possibly by the end of the year, but anyway, this is YouTube and it's very hard to probably get things like this. Anyway, shit happens. So anyway, thank you very much for joining me, and yes, last week was actually not too bad. I got quite a few right, so might as well crack on, because I know the last thing you want to be listening to me is me, basically. So obviously I may as well first one was FC Dallas against Houston Dynamo, which one is now going to be like a RB Texas derby. It is an interesting one. FC Dallas are not too bad at this present moment. Houston Dynamo are starting to probably kick into it. Both have basically similar kind of records: drew 3, lost 1, and drew 3. So their results are not that dissimilar. Dallas drew with Red Bulls last week, and that was away from home, and then beat Colorado Rapids at home, so it's not a bad result. Whereas Houston Dynamo last 2 home games were a 4-3 win against San Jose Earthquakes, okay, and they drew a home game against Portland. So, but their last away win was beating Inter Miami 3-1. So again, this could be an interesting one. I went with a Dallas win, 2-1 win. Just for fact, it is a Texas derby, and they're at home, effectively. Yeah, that's all I went with. They're a good team, FC Dallas. They're starting to crack into it. They've had a rougher run, if you know what I mean. They faced bigger teams, so I'm going to go for like a 2-1 win on that one. The next one is Philadelphia against Montreal. Again, these two teams are this weird kind of Montreal kind of started off quite badly in the season. They lost the first 3 games and then drew against Atlanta, which was kind of like a turning point, because they won the other 3, beating Cincinnati away from home, New York Red Bulls away from home, and Montreal at home. Oh, sorry, they are Montreal at home, and they beat Vancouver, which I think. Anyway, then when you come on to Philadelphia drew their first game and then won everything till last week against Toronto, which is a very strange game, and I think I got that one. Anyway, it's going to be like a 2-0 win to Philadelphia. They're just a better team. They're at home. They're unbeaten. They haven't been beaten at home. 3 wins, 1 draw. So it should be an easy one for them. So I went for like a 2-0 win. Obviously, the next one now is Minnesota against Chicago Fire. Now, Minnesota has only won the 3 games this season so far, whereas Chicago Fire have only won the 2, beating Sporting Kansas City, who are having a bad time of it, and beating DC United, who are having a bad time of it. They drew against LA Galaxy, not a bad result. They got beaten by Orlando away from home last week, or 2 weeks ago, sorry. And then they drew at home against Dallas, so this is very hard to read into this kind of one. Minnesota beat Colorado Rapids, was a pretty impressive result, all things considered. Then got beat by Austin the week before that away from home, and then got beaten by Seattle at home, 2-1. It is going to be an interesting one. Chicago Fire are the masters of not really conceding that much, to be fair. The most they've conceded is 1. So I think they're going to kind of continue this trend, but I kind of went for like a 0-0, just for the fact is these Minnesota can score goals, but coming up against the Chicago Fire team, who are not really conceding that many, I'm going to go for like a 0-0, beg your pardon. So yeah, I'm going to go for a 0-0. The next one is DC United against New England Revolution. Now DC United, basically, who sacked their manager during the week 2 days ago. Was it today or yesterday? Can't mind. They're coming up against New England Revolution, who are not really having a great time of it either. They've similar record, played more, but lost 4 and won 2. And well, New England got that extra game, and it was a 2-2 draw. Obviously, then DC United started the season off very well, beating Charlotte, beating Cincinnati. Then they got beat by Chicago. Then they got beaten by Toronto. Then they got beaten by Atlanta, and then Austin at home, obviously. So it's not great. So New England away from home haven't got that great of a record. DC United haven't got that great of a record. So I went for like a 1-0. New England should probably get a result in this, all things considered, but I think DC United are probably just going to come into this game and basically try not to lose. So unfortunately I'll go with that one. And the next one is Austin against Vancouver. Again, similar. Austin are starting the season off quite well, but they got beaten last night against San Antonio. I think I said that right. San Antonio. San Antonio. There, Sean. And then they're playing against the Vancouver team who's only 1-1, and that was against Sporting Kansas City, who, like I said, are not really having a great season. So coming into this one, you think Austin are only lost to 1. That was against Portland, which is a bit surprising because Portland are not doing that great. Drew against Seattle at home, and then drew against the San Jose Earthquakes away from home, but beat Minnesota and beat DC United, like I said. So I'm going to go for like a 2-1 win to Austin. I know they probably rested a few players last night, and they're probably not in a great mood from last night, so I think they're probably just going to take it all out in Vancouver. I think Vancouver are just basically going to try to hold on as much. I think they may get a goal, because Austin now are starting to concede a few, to be fair, but I wouldn't worry too much this one. I think Vancouver should be easily enough beat. The next one is, unfortunately, Sporting Kansas City, who are not having a great time of it, against Columbus Crew, who are starting not to have a good time of it, to be fair. Sporting Kansas City don't have a bad record at home. They only got beaten by Nashville at home, but their away record is atrocious, unlike Columbus Crew, who are not that great at away from home either. So this is probably where a game where you suspect it's not going to be an exciting game, I would assume. I'm going to go for like a 1-0 win to Sporting Kansas City. I just think they have it in them to grind out a result, but it's going to be a torture for anybody probably watching it. So I'm going to go for like a 1-0 and that one. Sorry, 1-0 on that one. Jesus. So the next one is Colorado Rapids against Charlotte FC. Now Charlotte at home are doing quite well. They've only lost the one, and that was against LA Galaxy, and that was actually a tight enough game. But away from home, they haven't won a game yet. They haven't even got a point really away from home. Whereas Colorado Rapids haven't really lost away from home. So, and they can score goals, even though in the last 2 games they got beaten 3-1 by Dallas and Minnesota. So, but at home they drew against Real Salt Lake, who didn't do great last week. But anyway, I think I got that one right. Anyway, we'll gloss over that to the next game. Anyway, so I'm going to go for like a 2-1 win to Colorado. They're just probably a better team. Charlotte are and they're going to be away from home. So they're not losing by much, if that makes any sense. They got beaten 3-1 they got beaten by Philadelphia 2-0. They got beaten by New England 2-1, even though that they beat New England about 5 or 6 weeks prior to that at home. So it's probably going to be one of those games. It's probably going to be a bit of a tight one, but I'm going to go for like a 2-1 to Colorado. The next one is Portland Timbers against Real Salt Lake, who, I may add, didn't have a great game against New York City FC. Away from home, they got beat 6-0 basically. 3-0 at halftime, and then another 3 in the second half, so that's not great. Portland Timbers, on the other hand, they've only won the 2 games, drew 4, and then lost 2 as well, so they're getting beaten by teams who are probably, I'm not going to say more experienced, but a bit more speed about them. Whereas I think Real Salt Lake probably don't have that in them. I'm going to go for like a 1-0 win to Portland now, because I think this is probably where a game they probably could get a good result out of us. I don't think they're that good to beat them 3 or 4-0. I do think they should beat them. Real Salt Lake are probably pissed off basically, so I think they're going to not do very well in that one. So I'm going to go for that. Yeah, going to go for like a 1-0 win. And the next one is San Jose against Seattle. San Jose now haven't won a game. They've sacked their manager. So they're coming up against the Seattle team who got beaten by Inter. I didn't predict that. I don't think anybody predicted that, to be fair. 1-0. But now they're coming up against the San Jose Earthquakes team, who you would suspect to have that. They don't even have a manager really to even have that new manager bounce. So I'm going to go for like a 2-1 win. I do think they're going to get a goal because they can score goals. They just can't stop them from going in. So I'm going to go for like a 2-1 win to Seattle, just because Seattle are a far better team. And I think that game against Inter is just a blip, and they really should win this. The next one is LA Galaxy, I believe, against Nashville. Now, Nashville are an interesting team. This is their last away game before the 1st of May against Philadelphia, where they're going to be at home, which is going to be a good game. They're coming up against an LA Galaxy team who started off the season quite well, only scoring 2 goals in 2 games, basically. Got beaten by Seattle, beaten by Orlando. Then they beat Portland and beat LA Galaxy, which is a big result, who are basically top of the league at the moment, and then drew against Chicago Fire. So they're kind of a bit of a sporadic kind of season so far, whereas Nashville lost 2, drew 2, and won 3, so they're not doing too bad. So coming up against an LA Galaxy team who are probably starting to find their feet. I know Chicago Fire are the masters, so I'm going to go for like a 2-1 win to LA Galaxy. They're just a far better team this season than they were last season. Well, it's probably not that hard, to be fair. So yeah, I'm going to go for like a 2-1 win to LA Galaxy, just because they're the far better team. I do like Nashville, to be fair, unfair, and to be fair, all the fair, in the fair, you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm going to go for 2-1. The next one is Inter against Atlanta. Now, like I said, Inter were one couple of minutes away from being the worst team in MLS, at the start of the season. Then they beat New England, which was a bit of a surprise. And then they beat Seattle, which is a bit of a surprise. So they're starting to... Well, no, basically they benched Higuain. So depending, I don't know who's starting. So if Higuain starts, this could possibly be a loss for Inter. If he doesn't, they could possibly win. So I'm predicting that he doesn't start and they win. I'm going to go for like a 2-1 win. Is it a shocker? Atlanta won during the week there. But it's, against a USL team. It's like beating a Division 1 team. So I'm going to go for Inter 2-1. Just, they're starting to go on a roll. But so probably they play New England again, which is 2 weeks' time. It could possibly all crash and burn. The next one is Orlando against New York Red Bulls. Now, at the start of the season, I had high hopes for New York Red Bulls. They've only lost 2, drew 2, and won 3, but a draw and a defeat in their last 2 home games is not a great result. They beat New England away from home, but New England aren't doing all that well. They're coming up against our Orlando team, who are getting back into it. Like, their only defeat was LAFC, which wasn't a good result. Well, all things considered, I think LAFC are a very good team, but then they got beaten by Cincinnati 2-1. That was a strange game, but they beat the 0-0 Masters, Chicago. So I'm going to go for like a 3-1 win. I think New York Red Bulls would probably, I'm not going to say struggle in that heat, but it is warm down there, and it's been freezing, I heard, in New York. So this could possibly be a 3-1. I think Orlando should easily win this one. So I'm going to go for a 3-1. The next one is FC Cincinnati against LAFC. Cincinnati at home, LAFC. They've won 1 game this season at home. That was against Inter. And their other home games were defeats by Montreal and DC United, who lost their manager. Are coming up against the LAFC team, who got beaten once in LA Galaxy. I've went for a 2-0 win to LAFC just because they're a better team and the FC Cincinnati are not. So watch FC Cincinnati win. You know what I mean? It's going to be a trickier. It is going to be an easy one for LAC if they play their proper game. So God knows what happens. It is MLS and anything can bloody well happen. And the next one and the last one is New York City FC against Toronto FC. A lot of FCs. I like it. New York, beat, as I said, Real Salt Lake 6-0, which is a bit of a shocker because I suspected a 1-0 win. 1-0, 1-all. So that was an interesting. Then more interesting, Toronto beating Philadelphia, which I didn't suspect at all. Then when you think about it, Toronto beat DC United. Toronto beat New York City FC, so 2-1. They're playing them again. They drew Real Salt Lake, who got beaten by New York City, yes. Then they beat Philadelphia. So this one's actually going to be a trickier one than you suspect. Toronto already beat them at home, so I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to New York City FC. How about that? Yeah. I think New York City, after that 6-0 win against Real Salt Lake, they're probably just going to wreak havoc on Toronto. And it could be a 3-1 win. I kind of had predicted 3-1, but I changed it to 2-1 just for the fact is anything can happen. It's MLS. So, yeah. Those were my predictions. I hope you enjoyed them. I hope I didn't go on too long. So, and I hope to see you on the next one, whenever the hell that is, next week. Anyway, bye now.